Assalamu alaikum, fellow Gambians, friends of the Gambia. My name is 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏𝒆𝒍, United States of America, in Lakewood, Washington. Today, December 5th, 2023, and I am here to talk about corruption to you. Fellow Gambians, the basic definition of corruption cannot be exhausted. But when we talk about corruption, we know what we are trying to address. The basic definition can mean dishonest or fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery. And one could also say the process by which someone typically take money or some other sort of favor, bribery from an individual in the power of authority can be regarded as corruption. So corruption has no one basic definition, but corruption is the thing that is derailing Africa's progress. Corruption is what is derailing our country's successes and our municipalities, our wards, and our communities. And anyone who comes to fight against corruption will get a stiff resistance from those in power, because those in power are only the top 1% that focuses and concentrate only the greater good of themselves and their family. Therefore, corruption should be challenged by all means necessary, even if it means one losing your life in it. For the greater good of the community, for the greater good of the people that we represent and call as the citizen of our country. That is all the more reason today I want to have this discussion with you. And I would try to extend a lecture to those in power of authorities in the Gambia, in all facets of life in the Gambia, to say that corruption kills, corruption can retard the health of a nation, corruption can erode everything that success and development stands for. Fellow Gambians, make no mistakes. We as a country cannot move forward without fighting corruption. But before fighting corruption, you as an individual have to be devoid of all malpractices and corrupt practices in order to be somebody being an agent of change to try to make a new rebirth, a new restart for our country. Our country have gone through turbulent times. The Gambia, since 1965, we have seen wars and dark ages. But yet still, our leaders in the power of authority are still hell-bent on corruption, corrupt practices and trying to encourage and promote corruption. This is where we find ourselves as a people of the Gambia. No nation can progress without fighting corruption, and the only tool to clamp down on corruption is to nip it in the bud, to make sure that all those people who are involved in corrupt practices are sent home, investigated, prosecuted, and sent to jail. Anything less, we would be doing disservice to country. Anything less, we would not be doing justice to the future generation of our country. And we as a people, we will be very much complacent in the act when we see corruption and corrupt practices without being a mandatory reporter to make sure that that act is being frowned at from the onset it is starting or anytime we suspect it is happening. So, as a people, I want to share the experience and talk about this corruption in our country because the Gambia is going through a rumbling dark ages. Without a joint concerted effort, without having a conversation and telling truth to power, and everybody standing against anything that is injustice and wrong in a country, we cannot move forward. This is no partisan politics. Corruption, as we can say, erode trust. A nation that is very corrupt, no international community would trust you. And it weakens our democracy. And it hampers economic independence and development and further exacerbates inequality, poverty, social division, and the environmental crisis that we can see happening in our country. So, those people in the power of authority standing in public, exposing corruption and holding the corrupt to account can only happen if we understand the way corruption works and the system that enables it. Without knowing how corruption works, you cannot fight it. But you have to know the system that enables corruption in your country in order to be able to clamp down on them. Make no mistake, the behaviors of individuals, politicians, public servants, demanding or taking money or favors in exchange for services, that is a corrupt practice. Nobody should promote it. Also, a politician misusing public money or granting public jobs or contract to their sponsors or friends and families, that is also corruption. Or a corporation bribing officials to get lucrative deals, that is also regarded as corruption. So basically, essentially what I'm saying to you who is watching or who are watching, corruption is everywhere. Corruption can happen under your nose, but by being very vigilant and being aware of your surrounding, if you look closely, you will see and detect it. And once you detect this, you can nip it in the bud. Corruption happens in businesses, in governments, even in courts, in media houses, in society, as we are seeing what is happening in 𝒂𝒏 today and these few days. As well as across all sectors, from health sector, education, infrastructure, and sports. Corruption is everywhere. And corruption can involve any individual, ranging from a politician, a government official, a public servant, a business people, or a member of the public. All of these people together can all be corrupt by virtue of looking closely of what they do and what their actions are all about. But corruption, detecting it is very hard because it happens in shadows, in the cover of darkness, or it can be in broad daylight, or in a broad daylight, often with the help of a professionals who enable it, like bankers, lawyers, accountants, agents, real estate agents, opaque financial system like scammers, anonymous shell companies that allow corruption schemes to flourish, and the corruptor launder and hide their illicit wealth. All of this happen. So corruption, in essence, adapts to different contexts and changing circumstances. It can involve in response to changes in rules, legislation, and even technology. But today, this morning, of our time, 11:38 Pacific time, here in Washington State, and pretty much Gambia would be 7:38 p.m. How do we find ourselves in this? Putting Brikama Area Council in context. The corruption and the predicaments of corruption that is happening in Brikama Area Council, or that has happened in Brikama Area Council for far too long, for the past several years, by defrauding the taxpayers of their hard-earned monies. Where the CEO, Jonga, and the finance director of this institution have defrauded West Coast region of over $50 million. And yet still we have an inefficient and inept government that comes out to impose that man back onto the council, where a council has passed a resolution to have that CEO and the finance director to go and sit at home, because they do not want to have anybody who has such a shady character who cannot account for over 50 million. And yet still the government of President Adama Barrow, taking the law into his hand, and defying our supreme law of the land to bring back this CEO to come back to serve in the council. What a travesty of justice. What a shame. What a missed opportunity. Council operate autonomously. Although the central government will be there as the focal and principal pillar, but then that does not negate the independence of council. This is why we have to have leaders who are measured. We have to have leaders who are not vindictive. We have to have leaders who are just They are for the greater good of the Gambian people. A just leader, a righteous leader. West Coast region have lost so much of their resources and development that they needed to have for far too long. But because of corruption, entrenching people in power who turn the council as their own family caboodle, family enterprise. And yet still, the councillors, with the help of their chairman, who is a lawyer by profession, has helped them to unearth all of these corrupt malpractices by the CEO Jonga and his family people, and the finance director. Over 50 million that is unaccounted for. The proofs are there. Everything is clear, very clear. So now, what is the government doing? It means that President Adama Barrow's government is promoting corruption in the Gambia. It is as simple as that. We have seen the track record of this government. From KMC, when it happened, the CEO, Senator Martin, was trying to impose certain things found to be doing dubious practices for the government. The KMC people have sent a clear message by saying that we do not want our finance director because he is unscrupulous. He is corrupt to the core. And the government, we have seen that event, how it unfolded. How are we as a people? And yet still we want to be very close to God. We say we are 96 or 97% of us are Muslims. But we do not practice the behavior of a true believer of a Muslim religion. Therefore, it is very clear to all Gambians to now know that the government of President Adama Barrow is very shady, very unjust, very corrupt, very anti-development, anti-progress, and they do not want anything and anybody who will want to come and salvage and uplift the lives and livelihood of their people, communities, regions, and wards. If Brikama Area Council have cut their teeth, who have been depriving, defrauding, and derailing the development of that region for the past several years, the least we expect from the government of the Gambia is to cooperate with them, the police of the Gambia, to investigate and send those people to court. And when they are found wanting, they will be prosecuted. But you cannot avert the council resolution to say somebody who has defrauded a council for over 50-something million unaccounted. You want to bring that same person to work. That person is going to do more damage to that institution. That's why when we are a people, we have to remove partisan politics into our daily life businesses. That is what we expect from the government of the Gambia. But what we are seeing today happening, to try to impose and misrepresent, misinform the Gambian people as if the people of West Coast region, councillors and chairman, were the one who are trying to do some other thing. In fact, today, this is a shame to the law enforcement officers of the Gambia, including the anti-crime unit. The person who should be sitting at that anti-crime unit today is nobody but CEO Mr. Jonga and his family clan, and all those people who were found wanting to have defrauded that 50 million plus, that 50 million plus could do something in a community. Why are we so fake in our doing as a people when we are representing them? This is just an injustice. This is a disservice to country where a poor person in the most remote country, up country of the Gambia, how do we know how they survive, how they take their livelihood on a daily basis? But yet still, you have somebody who has been appointed by the Public Service Commission, brought to the council, to think that he owns that place. Because make no mistake, Gambians, Brikama Area Council is not Jangakunda. Brikama Area Council is not Dabokunda and is not going to be Barokunda, because make no mistake, the Gambia is not Abraham Barros. He is just going to be blatantly violating the laws of the Gambia. But history would repeat himself that life after presidency, he would be prosecuted because ignorance to the law is no excuse. If all the councillors came together, sending this Mr. Jonga home for inappropriate behavior, financial misconduct, bribery, corruption, come on, people. All we needed is just to take him to court and prosecute him, because the serious government would have disassociated themselves from such a person. But that is not the government of the Gambia. They have done it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, on record. They will never cease to amaze us, because you know what? Adama Barrow is very vindictive. He is very unapologetic, violating laws of the country, and all our religious and Christian council leaders are there. Nobody is talking. Shame on all of them. You cannot be a good Imam Ratib of Banjul if you cannot detect injustice, lawlessness, abuse of office, and abuse of processes and procedures. You cannot call yourself a vibrant religious leader or a Christian council father priest if you cannot tell the truth to power. Time and time again, this is so shameful to see that most of our religious leaders, they don't say anything. But they would be the first person to come and say, oh, the Quran say you do not defy the leader, this, that, and that. That is all misrepresentation. That is why most people gowning themselves as religious imam here and there would be the first to be burnt into hellfire. Simply because of their distortion of the truth. Their misrepresentation of the Quran. What is wrong is just wrong. And what we are seeing in Brikama Area Council is a blatant and, violations and interference by the central government, especially the local government authority. The laws are very clear. The laws are very clear in the book to say that the central government can do this thing, but the local government can also do this. And their autonomy is as plain as crystal clear, as the moon. People of the Gambia, this is a shame to me. I become so appalled to see that All these violations are happening because Yankuba Dabo has come. What he has achieved in 3 months is way more than what Sirifo Sonko, the former chairman, has achieved the entire time he has spent in office. What a missed opportunity. And yet still we as a people would sit by and think that life will go good for us. Central government needs to stay out of council affairs. They run their own thing. Nobody can make that good. It is wrong. And CEO Jonga needs to go home. It is shameful to see that all the councillors, most of the councillors are arrested, taken to anti-crime unit. That's abysmal travesty of justice. That is very wrong. It is wrong. Because the council have cut their teeth already. Anti-crime unit, if they are worth their salt, they should have taken Mr. Jonga and the CEO to account for over 50 million. Whoever doesn't say this thing, you are just a nobody. You are not worth living. If we don't have processes, if Barrow, Mr. Adama Barrow, if he believes that there are laws in our country as he has claimed, he should have used his head and say, whoever is found wanting, but this is Barrow. I'm never surprised. Mr. Adama Barrow would say one thing this morning, before evening time, he would say 10 times of those in so many different languages. And yet, he has one mouth. Adama Barrow doesn't own the Gambia. His entire generation are very poor people. Including himself, he was so poor to the core. We made him who he is today. Why can this man think, no matter your political difference with people, let everyone do their job according to what the people gave them? Adama Barrow is a regret to the Gambian people, for if we cited where we came from, 22 years of dictatorship, where our life and livelihood meant nothing to us. And yet still, we have people who had been abusing our laws, but they themselves were doing anything that they feel like was, good for them, because they are the ones in power. Yet still the victim of those violations have not been compensated, or the perpetrators have not been arraigned and bring to justice. What kind of country do we live in? Adama Barrow is a disservice to the Gambian cause, the cause that we had fought 2016 and brought him there, and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission is a farce. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission is a waste of resources. You cannot set up commissions upon commissions and commission at the end of the day. You cannot implement any findings of that commission. Whereas we say, those commission, the monies you're going to be using to constitute such a commission of inquiry, you can use it to build hospitals for our people. You can build roads. You can enhance our education, our agriculture, our infrastructure, our economy. That is how true leaders would do. Good leaders would be charismatic. They would be measured. Good leaders would not be vindictive, as we are seeing in Mr. Adama Barrow. He's very vindictive. Too much bullying. Too much flagrant violation of our laws. And it's about time Gambians let him know this thing. Mr. Adama Barrow, those people around you are not helping you. They are not helping you because within these few years that you have served, you cannot peacefully sit in the Gambia by virtue of your inaction to clamp down on corruption, drug trafficking, corrupt practices, and violation of law, processes, and procedures. That alone, by and large, has made you to be culpable according to command responsibility mantra. This is what we are saying. Yahya Jammeh was way more powerful than you are. But Mr. Adama Barrow, what they are advising you is wrong. It's totally wrong. In your Majum estate enterprise, if you had caught your rent collectors taking all that money from you, we know how stingy you are in those days with cracked lips. You know? When you recall, when you find out that those people have, your rent collectors have stolen money from you and you caught them, what would you do? That is exactly the same thing what is happening in Brikama. 50 million Gambian dollars unaccounted for. And the CEO himself has alluded to that and say he did it, he cannot account for it, this, that, and that. What is more honorable is to prosecute this guy, to make him go sit at home, but do not impose that same person to the people of Brikama Area Council. Because Yankuba Dabo, whether you are in the same political party or different political party with him, he means business. And in Brikama Area Council, sober councils would not bring partisan politics in their council. And a unanimous resolution that has been passed to say that this Jonga need to go and sit at home unless and until he is investigated and prosecuted. Until then, let him go out and sit at home. Shameless central government trying to take the same person and say, oh no, you are going to work by force. What a shame. What a travesty of justice. What a misrepresentation. What a disservice to the taxpayers of West Coast region. And every sober people, voters of West Coast region, regardless of wherever you were, whether you had voted for NPP, UDP, and other parties, this is a clear testimony and a testament to show you that Adama Barrow's government is a stumbling block to progress. And it's an anti-development, anti-progress, anti-success, and does not like anybody who would stand to change the lives and livelihood of their people. And this is unfortunate. When you look at Brikama, it looks like a ghost town, or it might resemble like a desert, because they have been deprived of development. But the local government council would always take dues, rents. They will collect from them, whether the market vendors have sold their produce here and there, yet still they would still collect their rents from them, their dues from them. So if people of those people, those are poor women whose effort were able to educate me, you, and yourself, Mr. Adama Barrow, you were sponsored by these poor women. Why can't we respect the law as you claim in your rallies? Because sometimes what Mr. Adama Barrow says is just so so out of touch as the president of a country. A sober leader of a country would not be so arrogant in their statements. There are so many things that are wrong in that country and it needs to be fixed. It cannot be fixed by Mr. Adama Barrow because he doesn't have the innovation, he doesn't have the knowledge, and he is very unwilling to even do it because you know what? He doesn't know how to do it. Education no far. At the end of the day, those people who are working so hard, because he has seen that all the mayors who are doing very, very good are from the opposition. And he cannot take it. Because he knows the people of the Gambia are connecting really, really well with those people. That is just a subset. That is just a minute part of the things that a UDP government would do when we come to power. So all what our UDP mayors are doing, but you know, when UDP come to power as a central government, we will do a lot for the people of the Gambia. We will transform the Gambia. We're not going to say we will trial the Gambia. We are not going to say that there wouldn't be problem in the Gambia. Of course, there would be. But we will work so hard and tirelessly to make sure that we confront those challenges and make sure that we prevail over those challenges. That is how innovative and charismatic leaders would do. People who would think outside the box. People who has the intuition, the skill set to do things right by their people. Representation should not be like collecting salaries and go home and just rant to your people. No. Representation has to be marked by actions, effort, and do hard work for your people in order to change their lives and livelihood. It is very shameful time and time again seeing central government meddling into local authorities simply because they are doing above and beyond very well that the people have started appreciating the work they are doing. What is more honorable than that? We can be in different political parties, but if I do good, I change the life of my people. That is the campaign promise that you fulfill. That is what we all swore to say that, you know, when we come to power, this is what we'll do. But oh boy, Gambia is just so interesting. Truth-telling is very much lacking in as much as the government in power would just bribe you, give you money, and for you to just go lie with your big gown, and yet still you call yourself as an imam. What a disservice to the people of the community you serve. And what a travesty of justice. And what a misrepresentation of God's word to the people. God's words are very clear that you have to tell truth to power anytime it so exists. But that is why some people are going through rough time. They would be in their big African gown, burning under their robes, simply because of their bad character, calling themselves imams. A good imam would stand at their altar and just say truth to power, telling them that this is wrong, this is affecting my community, because every imam comes from a home and a community. You come from a region. If you see your region is underdeveloped and you are developed, you are just behind, because nothing would work. The roads that you would drive on would just all be bad. At the end of the day, one day you will be affected or directly or indirectly. What is happening in West Coast region is wrong, and everybody should condemn it. What Chairman Yankuba Dabo has done and his councillors is the right thing to do, and everybody in the Gambia and friends of the Gambia stood by you. The central government is a nuisance. They have no business in this. All we need from them is to enhance and cooperate and take this finance director to court and let him get the hell out of that institution, because he's a stumbling block to development. We don't need this kind of things happening in our country. We should be thinking about competing how to bring development to the doorstep of our people. If the people of KM are doing, the other people of Banjul are doing, the people of West Coast are trying to do, that's how they should compete, to make sure that, okay, you did this in Talib Ahmed Bensouda in Serekunda and the surrounding, Rahim Malik Low, you are doing this in Banjul. 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏 would also want the same good things to be done to the people of West Coast. But before this guy came, he found the accounts were in minus. And now he has several millions in that account. And now the permanent secretary, local government, Safi Sankara, trying to block all that. That's a travesty of justice. That is an injustice. So we expect all the people of West Coast to descend on these people. Because you know what? If you want law to happen in this country, we give you law and tranquility and obedience. But when it comes to blatantly violating the law just to say that you are the ones in power, if the whole of West Coast people rebel and descend upon the council, how are you able to maintain peace in that place? So, the government of Adama Barrow does not know how to run a chicken coop nor a country, because all of these are dangers to peaceful transition to your power, because you are trying to agitate the people, the masses of West Coast region, and it is not going to serve you well. You know? All the people of West Coast, no matter how evil your government is trying to undermine 𝒂𝒄𝒏 to see him fail, anytime you guys try, that's all the more reason he thrive and survive more and more. Success hit at his door for the greater good of the people of West Coast. So you have to let the guy be. What is wrong cannot be right. When the people rebel, you people cannot control them. And that would mean public pandemonium, disobedience, vandalism will come in. And that is even a threat to your power. Don't you know this? Give peace a chance by being a fair leader. You have to be fair among every individual, regardless of whether they are NPP and one, because you claim you are the president for all the people of the Gambia, but you are not acting like it. On a daily basis, we've seen this many, many times. Do your politic when it is time for politic. But this is not time for politics, it's time for work. And that is what 𒂂𝒄𝒏 and his councillors are doing. And now, you are trying to interfere in their processes. Just simply because you are the person in power. Somebody ill-advise you. You've been advised wrongly because the laws are very clear. The mouth and the teeth are all on the same body, on the head, but they have different function. It's the same as the central government and the local authorities. You know? If you cannot understand that, I'll give you another example to say that your nose and your eyes are different, but they all are on your head. The nose is there to breathe, and the eye is there to see whatever is coming to you, whether it is harmful or not. A butt and the anus are different. They all serve different purposes. You know? This is just simple thing. So no one should ill advise you to say that, Mr. Adama Barrow, you come and just be like, do whatever you feel like. It's a violation. You are wrong. You should stop it and let the people walk. If not, the whole of West Coast will come out. But we know what you are planning. It's just to see that Yankuba Dabo fails. And you bragging that, oh, you built a market, this, that. That's not your money. It's the hard-earned money of the Gambian people, because Adama Barrow, you are paid by the Gambian taxpayers. You do not do it by your own money. We've seen you when you were a rent collector at Majum. The shoes that you wear, some of them will even just, one side would be bigger than the other just because you cannot afford to get a new shoe. And now, what is wrong with that? We know how you came about as a leader of our country. And deception should not be the thing in this. Gambian people have been awakened more time and time again. Because what happened to all the promises, Mr. Adama Barrow, you made? If I were you, they made the people's store, I will just sit at the national TV and do the Meet the People tour one day, less than 45 minutes. That would be my Meet the People tour. Read out all the things and aspirations you want to do for the country and use the money to enhance the life and livelihood of our people in the country. Make roads for our schools, healthcare sector, improve it. This is how sober leaders would think outside the box and have innovations and skills to say that, okay, I am a poor country. I do not have the resources. Instead of me benefiting from endless per diem and allowances and my crew, let me just forgo that and make sure that all that money that would be spent on this Meet the People tour, I will invest it in how many kilometers of road. That's what we want. That is the right thing to do, sir. And bragging about things, I do this, I do that, you don't do them. It is our money, Gambian taxpayers' money. That is what we did it from. You were able to do, because we have seen you, Mr. Adama Barrow, when you came. We have seen you. So what has changed? Let us give the devil its due and leave the people of West Coast to do their job. It is a abysmal mistake to think that arresting councillors and this, that, and that would be the right thing. No. The councillors and the chairman of Brikama Area Council, they caught their thief. Why is the central government not taking the people to court? Why is the police not even doing their job? But today, this so-called, just because they want to impose the CEO back on the people who has rejected that man, that they do not want to work with him. Because he has to account for over 50 million. My good friends of the Gambia. Can't you see it? The voters, let us vote wisely, because this type of government is living in jungle justice. They want to invoke the part of the Constitution when they think that it favors them. And now, the same part of the Constitution is what? Give autonomy to the local government to say and do their things on their own. But yet still you say they cannot do that. You are not Gambia, Mr. Adama Barrow. You are not. And if it is power without all the guns and these things, and one man will just take you down. In the sense that they can challenge you and take you and wrestle you down. If that is what you think as power. But no, yesterday you said, Yaya Jammeh had power, guns here and there. He was powerful simply because there were men and women in uniform who were protecting him. But today you seem to have forgotten all of that. You were not even sworn in our country simply because you came in as a novice. You don't know anything about governance or how to do it. But the people who were surrounding you helped you through. People have died for you to make you president. Why can't you uphold those democratic gains that we have found through the blood, sweat, and toil of our great men and women who died for that? But today is the other way around. You are the main violator of our own laws. That is shameful. That is disgusting. And the world is laughing at us. And it is not even funny. Today, your main preoccupation should be how to combat drug and drug trafficking in the country. How to fight against corruption. Not only saying it by your mouth, but by putting every hand on deck and every resource available to fight against it. Today, your main preoccupation should have been our roads, our infrastructure, our poor health care sector, how to enhance it. Are you doing this? Before you became president, you campaigned so many wards, so many towns and villages in this country, giving them everyday promises that, trust me, don't judge me by what I am saying, but believe me, when I get there, I'm going to do this. Today you are there, what are you doing? That government that you had accused of corruption and corrupt practices, today you are there. Corruption is happening under your nose. What are you doing about it, Mr. President Adama Barrow? You see the disservice and injustice of our leaders. When they are coming, they would even tell us that an apple is gold. Whereas we, the voters, would say that no, that cannot be. But we will believe them that, okay, yes, the apple can be gold. But then when you come to power, that apple becomes a most satanic and evil negation of promises. That's another disservice in the character of civil servants and public servants, because you should have to have honor, integrity, sincerity, and dignity for the people you govern. The people of Brikama Area Council, the chairman and all his councillors are in the right side of history. Again, yet again, the government of Mr. Adama Barrow have written themselves another dark side of history where people will believe that, oh, okay, when you find a thief, what do? Give them to the police, prosecute, send to jail. As freaking simple as that. But you have a government that is just so disgusting, that is so vindictive, that is so bullying, that is so inefficient, that is so inept, as if Gambia does not have educated elites to run the affairs of that poor nation. Less than 2 million, 0.2 million people. Very small. If all our elected representatives are to do right by our people, we are talking about Dubai. We are talking about some capable states, but the Gambia should be the best out of all the West African states. But why promote corruption? Why are we condoning corrupt practices in the Gambia? And this has to do with the precedents from the get-go. Because history has shown us from KMC it happened. It happened even in Basse, we've not had anything. And now because of the vindictive nature of the president and whoever is behind all of these things, the police are just a total failure to our country's dispensation. The police need to be restructured, revamped, redeemed, revitalized, recalibrated, reconstructed, and to be rejuvenated. We need to do all of these things, man. Our police should be very neutral. That is why the draft constitution, throwing the draft constitution into the bin, is a missed opportunity for our country's independence. Remember, we are independent in 1965. But we are not independent of our own mind, body, and soul, in the sense that things that the democratic institutions have to own themselves. The police inspector general should be able to make decisions without the president interfering, because you know what? The president cannot fire him. That is the missed opportunity we have in the draft constitution. The Director General of Immigration can do his own thing without the government interfering, because they would be autonomous and they cannot be fired by the president. What is so simple? Africa, we are our own self-haters. We are our own cause. Africans are hate, they are cause, and Gambians as well. In the sense that we see the right thing, we see the most honorable thing, things that will move us forward, but we say no, still now. But we are consumed and overtaken by partisan politics, tribalism, regionalism, and who is who. Sober nations have transcended beyond these things. Gambians should be even able to think outside the box and say, now what have we even invented? What have our army invented? Because in the army, they are not only there to be doing only territorial and external protection, but they have brains there. They have engineers. They have so many different other people who are there to help, to build things, structures, structural engineers and stuff like that. But the Gambia is a sick nation where hate is filled in our minds all over. We see some people trying to progress and we just come and just stamp on them just to make sure that they go back to ground zero. To make sure that I will be the only one doing for them. That is wrong. That is a disservice and it needs to stop. Brikama Area Council, we are all with you. We are with Chairman Yankuba Dabo. He is doing great. Whether you like him or not, whether you voted him for or not, but like I said, what he was able to do in the past, the first 3 months, 90 days, was way more than what Sirifo Sonko has done the entire lifespan he did as a chairman of Brikama Area Council. Records are there. When we sit down here and talk to you, we don't just talk to you based on, vile statements and here and there. No, we don't. We are telling you facts, and all what is happening, it is wrong. And it is all orchestrated by nobody but Adama Barrow and his government. Because you cannot tell me that, 50 million, that can do a lot. If you are a CEO, a finance director, you put Jenkunda, that's a conflict of interest. It's not only Jenkunda that exists in the Gambia. The Gambia is not owned by Mandinkas, Wolof, Fula, and Jola. It is an amalgamation of all the tribes that are in the country. But if you want to make one institution a Fula Kunda or Mandinka Kunda, it is going to be wrong, because that will go against every value that you stand for. It is wrong. And it becomes a very big disappointment to my religious denomination, the Muslims. Imams would be sitting down. And when did you last see the Imam Ratib of Banjul coming out to speak truth to power? Because it seems like those people are not there for God, but they are there for their own selfish interests. To be there getting the salaries from the people who they lead into prayer. But when bad things are happening, today, this is no politics. We know that most of the things that are happening in the Gambia are wrong. But why don't we address them? And when we see young boys or young girls are dressing in such a way and manner on the street, we say we just go and stand on our sermon place in the mosque and try to talk about that. What a travesty of justice. What a misrepresentation. So if you have the audacity to talk about young women and girls dressing in such a manner on the street, the same manner you can talk to the president of what they are doing that is wrong in the country. Because that is what the Quran tells you. Speak about injustice wherever you see it, even in your household. But it's a huge disappointment. People are vested in personal aggrandizement, personal issues, instead of national development. If you choose to be in the limelight to become a president of the Gambia, everybody would talk about you and everything that you say, because we will scrutinize every little word you say, whether you are arrogant or whether you are saying this in a very loving way or whether you are saying this about the good of the country or whether whatever you are saying, whether you mean it or not. People will decode everything. Unlike a private citizen who is living in somewhere, we will not talk about them because they are not managing the affairs of our finances or our country. If you choose to become a local government minister, the day you make the acceptance, know that you are under the limelight. So we just have to do everything right by our people. We should be bold enough to tell truth to power, even that truth has to cost us our lives, or to make sure that, we do not have anything in that country or we get deprived of getting a job, which should be very wrong. Because telling truth to power should not negate anybody your right to life and survival. Because you, as an individual, you have a right to work in the country. So if you are deprived for doing that, they are taking your inalienable right from you. It is sad. The government of the Gambia is wrong. They can make this thing right by taking the thieves, prosecute them, and, send them to jail. If you are able to send Dr. Bamba Banja for merely taking a small portion of a bribe and prosecute him and send him to jail, what is more special about this Jenkunda family and Senabu Jeng, Senabu Martin? What is more special about them? Are they the Gambian messiahs or what? They are just human beings. It is just the government trying to play hanky-panky game by the Gambian people, not being fair among the Gambian people. And that is wrong. It is wrong and it needs to stop. If not, you are causing nothing but, instigating violence in the country. Because the people will not take it. Nothing, nobody will just stand between Gambian people and their development processes. And that is what the government of the Gambia is trying to do in the case of Brikama Area Council. And nobody would do that. It is as if nobody in that country can tell the truth. That country is sick in head. And a total disappointment to my police officers. A plain, simple thing that where you don't even need evidences, you have your man who stole over 50 million. What are they waiting? Still now the guy is sitting in his own home. Because you know what? When they start to steal, they will be giving bribe to people over and over and over, and that makes you complicit in your job. This is why, where is the police security sector reform? The Truth Commission, the Truth Reconciliation and Reparation Commission that has been constituted. What's the use of that? Never again mantra. Never again is all over again. Because we have the same thieves, the same cartel, the same bandit running the affairs of our country, and life goes as usual. That country will not lift its head above water. It will always be at slumber, sleeping, as we are seeing. Mbadi Gambian Kolu, kakumo be sutiandi, ntalam ensa ABCC, United States of America, Olympia, Lakewood, Washington. Bin nataka diamu corruption wala fanal. Corruption o atemu kule temia lonko kuja oba. Andong corruption o na keta banko kan aka kuja male sungwo banko la tamandiri nyakono. Katuko aka kele kuja mae manki aye nasi ando ni wo keta amulunta ko balunya aka seiko male. Katun corruption o ate na nata banko kan jiko anen lanna nyoya aka wo nasinde banko kan bakele aka kendila ko minko banko dengolo altol menka carte fay woli albuka jika alla man sakunda famala katun alka miral ko ika alla kodo dundi daming abuka donku because alla kodo kadun daoda development obuka ke alnya abuka jesa ko alsa feel andon development ode ate anyanta futa la kona bele to hana atarebe Gambia la fatotole wala ime nyamanar. So corruption aka democracy wala mfang tarambulo nying anem fang fenko aka wo nasindire. Kato ning corruption wara bata democracy bukatama wo banko kan. Kato molu ibe kamfa alale asena kudo wulumi alonko ibe najala democracy luwa e kol talande nyami o fananse nasi wala se jija wala e nyenkeleng corruption o nying o fanan na keta banko kan aka kendile ko economic development aka wo nasinde bakele katuko e nyanta ka silol mil dade alie e buka wol dadano e ka wollel kodo tay ka dundi fanna kuwol to be bunjamba lola e be ku jamal kela anim fanan corruption aka molu fisamante yandi nyotile kate bina jela ntenite be denta kodo minna mi alonga nyanta ka dunna kansulo kono pour ye silo dadantoli e buka dunde woto ka samba itol fangole bina jela ko ete memu fuarote nte mu fuarote ete kana fanka maya yetambintela o dum fana mukulete amanke ke ko ila barako le mwotide bari la fere jawo ani la sunkanya ya ye minchika wale akendi fisamante yata nti amanke ala yatide nyin dunia kono corruption o kawo kendi corruption o aka fuaria jawo aka wale wulu bankoka fuaria miya lonko imari ite balu kendo fango sotono la corruption o kawo kendi na bankoka so aka division or social division corruption o kawo kendin na banko kan anen na munafandulalu aka jebeti nya kato muna kendin na environmental crisis abe o kenola nyadil nyembere biolu ka mimbe bi alla ko arelto ndolla sate to farbabanta na musolla farol nin dulal to tendinga nin na kunkol wolu be tinyata le so much so that sanyin na dandango lube tinyatale ntemu na fanno laje katuko mo mi alonko amare mu big enterprise mode wollel kane ka biro keje iki fammu na fawala hani royalty fango ibuka kendo ladulato coming sila kendo fango teji wo corruption o ka wollel ke andung momo lota pour ka corruption o kele ibe corruption o kele no la nyaadi le banko ka wala mu nam nyaton kolu nga mil tombon foyte mu councilol te ban foy mu mayor te ban foy mu president te wala minister momo be man sakunda palaso to wala mu nyenti ko nyanta ke konti bole mbe konti bola nyaadi le palaso mi ba marakan biri betaji hane saikulo fan wala macho ibuka sanno wala ten hani ko fango ibuka sanno bare biri tata o palasol to ye fang keta fanka ma bati a manke ko isobe yatal de bari la sunyaro ani la fere jawal kal minke Gambia dingol ntolko wo kusifa wala manyan kake ka tuko nite se wo keno do fanansa keno le do fanansa keno ando ni wo keta amulunta ko bankola na fulo nying ate talano la mol bete ma komin ko nga sila kendol soto nga marse kendol soto anin na ku kendolo wala ten na education sector na agriculture woye bete ya nyala e fenke ay tamina nela ando mo jamal lel kanyin corruption oke niya jube jama public servant olem businessman olem even loyal kakele journalist ol fanam fan kanyin corruption olkele you know. So wale akende banko ka miya lonko lualel belarem banko kan kaje ko momo ni be banko ka ni e muta sunyaro la min nyanta min bete ataka ke wala mu nyinti ko wo mari na samba kiti yola na bondi dula nyim fan mumeto ferek ngata nga sindi karala kato mune wo kuo nati min be kerim Brikama area council kule miya lonko maluku ba kule miya lonko kuma silandimba kule miya lonko ake mofango jikila tele kominko nenese singa jube kominko mbe oku ofango diamula bari abe keka nyadi le wala munyentiko nim modo le miya lonko imamo bari bi Gambia bele nyimmo ikata ndiko ila CEO Modu Jonga anim finance director ila you know wala liye kodo mankindi ye kodo sunya dana kambado ngafo nya ye kodo sunya min tata million talulu min tambita wala e ma fono wo kodo adunta nyineto wala adunta nyineto word followed and wo manke kodo fango beti million talulu e ma wala fono ya dundi munkuleto bere wo keta council members oluanin chairman Yankuba Dabo inata isita ye meeting oke resolution o pass bao local council wolfana ye fam marale coming ko central government ya fam maranyame baro adama baro nala mansakunda be nyame a teleko amu president ti woto okay ala mansakunda ka tama nyame mol me man te da dundino laje local government luaya landi wala nyama ko wol fananke fam maranole and central government te dadundi nola woto what a fallen nola war is just like a kamen foko entrenched clauses because entrenched clauses lua kono wala mu eka fundamental human right la protect wol nene buka fallen no so biri woli o sunya roke ya resolution o pasi ko woli te yesi suokon bari bi nga jele ko Adama Baro komi nal hakilo baka e minke sarakunda ba wal fanan na CEO nyeng minke ta Senabu Martin na nal la miraro futataji o nyen sujar sifal lelke ay tidimbali a sifal leke kakar kodolu lonta council mol toya la milialo wal fang makala mutay nata mutawole ko ya bondi je pour ay asi administrative leave la ngajele manya minke central government e manya minke wo fananto ye wo murundi nam force faketa na manke majority of the KMC chairman 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏 Bensouda anala councilolo ne wala majority ten wolum fanam fitina base wulije na jele central government yoke for laba wainata o bondi jele ya cento base somewhere in base or somewhere o sifa kotenke wole ba fa repeat kan nyendulato Modu Jonga anala CEO nying CEO mimbe Brikama area council anim finance director wole kodo sunya million talulu min tambita wala ande mafono moli ya donde muntol bari ni nata o fana njube kibaro ya fongal yenne ko wolu molu nyin Jonga kunda wol ye woke jonga molu ye woke jonga family kundaleti because bikama area council mu jonga lelti dole fang mantara do kula je bari be risito takan e ka collection o ke molbul wo mu loi tinya baleti nga min expect police la banku kendo la police ni nyin sifa keta wol nyanta tar la bulleto bi e nyanta tar la kasolta kati ye kuleta fuaro le bulu milia lonko e nyanta la balu la family balundi la wal bulu barite o collect wal bulle fo sanji jolo over 5 good years ibe o collect ka wal bulu bari yara fayte mantara do ko fangala wodulato CEO nyin anala molu ye woleke sanyin yankuba dabola kansulo molu aninga ata fangala chairman ya koto ye resolution o passé ko CEO ita si karala ye te ala kuo jube bari tolnate do kuo kala katuko kansul la do kuo ay o sembo di la le pour ye woke man sakunda fane o longa be sene aringema so ni woketa nga expect le ko man sakunda kendo ni ela sungo muta nen kansu ita man sakunda man sungo muta no bari kansulolu aninchi amano e sungo muta e ko afele men nyata woto wala mnyente ko ya kitindi ya samba ya soro mbade ngambi ankolo alenga hakilo murundi ko madamande Dr. Bamba Banja ngamere kae ko bribery le tai corruption ole ke ko di dantanna at the fishery department ngamera wala akendi ya samba kiti ole afele ya soro mile 2 central prison fo Bamba Banja wo ni nyim momodu jonga ni nyin jonga molu wol be manke hadama din kilingote fo be man bo Gambia banko le kamba nko yalon ka fitino mamman de Gambia banko alen kana molu fisamante yandi nyote Adama Barrow dunna tamandiri nya amambetea Adama Barrow mu nyaton kolete mi yalon ka mantelin abe jenkerine andu mole mate mo hadirimba mole mata daka minfo anaka bara minne ibuka kilin bari insafo Adama Barrow fanam fango yate tanten Gambiati Adama Barrow manke Gambiati Adama Barrow la family manke Gambiati ala generation o manke Gambiati Gambia e luwa lelsoto ning Adama Barrow as the president of the Republic of the Gambia nate ko luwa lebe Gambia bankoka o luwa nyi wole be tamandika wai alinga luwa horama wai luwa horamo anyanta dati la santo le ay jiduma de amanyanka ke bottom up te dumanin santo mo foy mu fatoton koleti bang e mu fuaro ti ka dondi ka faram dingol leldu luwa e protect Gambia banko kanne katuko o luwa nyin ete wuluta o banko le kan alale o nyanto di la ko luwa nyanta ke ete fasal ne luwa mantara banko kan denno Adama ta keno na president de banko kan Adama nga ngena nya jele Gambia banko kan beribe majum enterprise be the rent collect kanje imagine nyem momodu jonga na la molu nyen kodo mi ka fote ye wo sunya ite la buludu ebe mala nyadile yaje ni kute fanna batabu kataraje tilimbalia ba Adama Barrow wala be ke kayla man sakunda kon andu wo tilimbalialu ila ke ku balia kewo wala ka wuli ka wo ku tilimbaliare ke solve wala fama bini ite soron na sinin sama ni bota mansayara katuko in command responsibility ya tandiko momo imarata fewo fenne nyanta ka kontibo wala bari bi ite la nyim mara lokot nyin kujawo min bebe kerin na bankoka ranging from corruption drug trafficking larceny robbery aninka mofa jawol min beken na bankoka mun iya munaka akuol kono Adama Barrow karti failal nyanta ke nyinen ka nyinela wala akendiko ngete sinde nyamin nga kansulol ninchi amanol fanan sinde wala nyama ila in fact ila sembo warabata andung in the local government act aya tandile ko itolu ye fam marale ye fan nole la fan tamandirnya abe fangole bulokono mu manyanka dadu woto sako ise interference keje nko mimanya wo manya wai mune akende nko nse bo different political party to nyawonya but at the end of the day na molu la nyanto anila tanya to nyanta kawle jube kaje kominko ite mimbe fatoto ye kansulo le soto wobe siri tagiye Brikama area council ite mimbe buyam ye kansulo le soto wobe siri Brikama area council nte mimbata komba fa babanta mfananga kansulo le soto wol fanam bebe siri njele bari nyen kansulo be ni e jube mambo political party kili bari ubi wol fanam fango be kam fatale katuko ya jele ko nyim jonga family ye kujaw baleke mi ya lonko in fact nyulle moti mili alon ko nene manyanka doku ke Gambia la tariko fa mume kono way katu ko nyulle community lel batandi ye hadama dingol le batandi ye tundo batandi ye regional fa be batandi mo kun dantan kelen mone akende Africa in the Gambia tolbuka lafika sonka to nyafo fo Momodu Jonga wole ba fututo Gambia dingol beti ba Adama Barrow la ke presidenti o ma kende komin ko ate bama wala fisi ata Gambia dingol be ba mati bari alale ya notunde ka keje bari alaye notunde ayeke dula mento eseje tamande nen telingola bari telingo manya mantara ka woje Adama Barrow la tamandir nya kono Adama Barrow la tamandir nya kono telimbali alem katule jola mol la dorom ka kuma kalantangol fo moliye dorong ka kumol fo miliyalon ko lahidi balu dorong mbukeje foro e kango hadama dengo ni man tonya soto imam bunya soto mol man lanno soto eto eten mari la life fanga manke fenna fende way ngo West Coast region fota bakele ka bring the past sanji worowulo sanji lulo mimbe ibeji sirifo sonko ngala tariko jijele mi ya lonko chiamano atenyanta kadoku o minka ama ke fende fa beke musukuote Gambia dingol yewo kamfa fenke ya bondije ye yigyankuba dabo keji Adama Barrow minke wala mnyentiko sirifo sonko mi ya lonko musukuo ya beke wolta ba fola wande musol ye ko ninni tata tripo la janni bina lambe kono merongo la dile la je ninni mbanko le mo banko kendolu milia lonko koy man dino soto de ndanu wo sirfo sonko ate ning man sata nyatilin na nyola mumeke because ba lonna ko ay immorality lek bare ndaysan Gambia 97% of the Gambian people will quite all modina dunke molted bari tollel kam ma nyake mi ya lonka nin dino fon man kata nyobala mumeke o sirifo sonko Adama Barrow ay wole chika atata ke another place to mi ya lonka abe mol represent la bantala bankol to maluba kujauba wole akende na man sakunda mulunta ko kuo ku nota kuo ku mulunjaw yata dino e kuo ku kong anin society e kuo ku aya nyakwe amilla Adama Barrow ka wollel kafu nyola deplorable solo ateka wollel kafu nyola aka wollel ka teroti aka wollel samba dulalto pour ye wolye Gambia represent Gambia almalon tol tutal ya lonko dunia kono pour moli e bunya ye horoma best practice akumaya batal dunia kono horomo nim bunya akumaya batal ete mune kejam ye mune fojam ani daji ko keta muneti nyin kantol malubake kaje komenko nyin fensi falo fengul miliyalon koy mulu njawyate nota banku kendol man la fi mennan to la bankolon ka nyatele walla just because ka jube kare mun terleti Gambian kolo friends of the Gambia mbali ya marla mbenyen kuo minna ka foko min ko dunia kuo lem nyen nyente bariye o kuo min ke dunia kono alkiyama e be kontibola walla way modo e bunjambalo o mari be keremu kanne alinga tonya fo Adama Barrow ya fitino bulan na banko ka way alinga tonya fo Adama Barrow ko aya hakilotu central government wala ma tata nyatili wala ngamben kotenke nimbenta 2026 sena politiko bawo meet the people to alinga wo fango jube you know nite tata yela sungo mute ela sungo be bulokon man sanyante de malala e makwa e o sungo nyinkiti ndiye bare man sak nyin kansulo wol yela sungol muta man sakana aka wol kele ka jube ko men hanide yesungo mutale bare wo sungo nyinte lafita wala itaraji o mo muntolati Adam Barrow tanten Gambia te way atenten Gambia la luati anda ma sembo soto mumeke way bi atele be oje nyentaram fambulo nimbu lua bunya balia be lumbe soto lamba kitindi lala wol fango damma ya tela siyo kole andi Gambia banko kan bi setara waramba bal dunka nyaadawe malamal la bar kuno ibe funkulare ne ko mun fem mi ya lonko e da fango be ka fara ibuka tulo soto sako isa keno so ibodula e ka wala jube luwa lebe banko kan sarto lebeje mele ya lonko o sarto itela ke president de o ma kendi ko o sarto e falinno o sarto nene te falinna anda manyan ka falin mumeke Gambia dingo be mo bele nyanta ka funde ka diamu ka atande nyinna ko atante Gambia ti adambe tante Gambia ti Gambia institutional lel soto milia lonko mo be nyanta ka horomala ya bunya ning ensa ABCC lua tinya lua ya sarto e wuli ay lakan ni UDP ko e lua tinya lua ya sarto e lakan na ko abe soron na ay soron the same thing fuaro fankama abele be lua koto lua lebe mo be santo president mantara lua e santo way andum president tanten Gambiati atante luati bare ndeysan molu buke mira ete mira ila sanjobe almost 60 something years or 1965 maybe 59 years ye mira ite tarano la o palaso to in the next 10 years fang maybe hani ni la fitala bari la sanjo ta dino lela ni la sanjo ya dila maybe amari man satalla alako ite futano la woto mune habo jaritala ka jube ko ninye modolu na jeri nyal mankile bari mbala tamandir nyala kuol kole andila bulle just because ntale be nyato niye wo kenu itelanu ndenu itete sotolanu ha ya jamelun na sotota balanta nyembanko kan bar luwa e sarto le landing ko sarto nye wole ba kendila Gambia dingo bebe volunteer la nga force ay fonti wo bankoka ka tunga ku jaw balle ke wo bankoka bi ite Adam Barrow ni suman wole be o ku sifal keka Gambia ding kendo be momo ma foye o ku kulingo foye o ku kilingo foye amunta ko Gambia dingol mbetarla nafiki ala bundal to de membe kere Yankuba Dabola adala kansulo la rontale amulun jawyata amampetea andunga manyanka tarawo palaso fawto mumeke way kunorimba Gambia Police of Force walo ane anti-crime unit wala kuwa mu malolete way wal dal ha Gambia bibe kansulol mutala nyaadi leke arrest just because he mallafi nin CEO e dokuoke baral tol nal fangol temalia lonne ko CEO e defraudment leke ay economic crime leke ay tinyaro leke kansul la kodolo amammi aka bi altol nyanta wollel mutala aliye sindal fambul ka wol nyinen ka ke prosecute bar wala akende ngafoko nim polisol dabula ta politiko kono miya lonko itol nyanta ka neutral le bukela do ko keno ay bete away wala akende na draft constitution ala fayo nyamo kono woy masi babale kos na banko kam because nim police ja inspector general of police naya lonko man satem baynola wota atena do ko ba ke kulal de ata sila la mola ata ajubela ko nyemmo esa la mollelti ala badingol lelti ni inspector general of police ya wolong wala ten director of commission wala ten GRA director ya lonko president o tem bayno la na palaso to wote son naka kodidi president la mi alonka manke carte fayla la kodoti de you know so wala mu kuote mi alonko nyanta ka diamu Adama Barrow na la president la molu ibe minke kan itolle daba kuo be kono because milka advice nyin kugo sifala wal mum mollel te milyalon koy man londi soto imam fahamur soto hani niya londo soto bari ba mislead kan ne ba tinya kan ka je komin ko ate Adama Barrow aka kuo min beke banko kan abe Gambia dingol la democracy abe wala tinya kan aba erode kan andung ni woketa ku jamala ka fenket Cairo anin tenkungo aman nyon soto fitino nata fitino ka kendile ye min bedo ku sanje tanne lulu wala ten sanje tawora abe tinya wati dantankile mantara woto mallafi wala ntoluko momo la doku mu menti ye woke separation of power and checks and balances you know ali local government authorities ol bula ye la doku woke alal da bondi la doku wokono nal tol nyanta ka doku o minke alman wo sofa ka ke al nyanta sila kendol min dada alman wo sofa ka wolbe dada al nyanta na jata kende abunda falen na nyamin aliena balunya ale manol datala ale fengol dol datala ferolu anin fahamuro londo wala ka wolke bari niye mol sote balay be sire luolong ibe chu kong tabila dorong iba domala wal buka fem foye wal foka fa UDP le nyinke jambi UDP nyi manke UDP kuti nyimmo the people of West Coast la quality kaje kominko nyin kuo manyanka lawo nyama yela sungo mutale nga ming expect wala ma mari nyanta talale ya asamba kitiola ya fenke ale nyin kansulol bula desan ni nate na imamul jube anen Christian Council aketa balafat etc. Siriya diamo denne merangolo sunkutole ka changalo leldum e ka kurtol dum milialon ko ni ite hani la ka jimi fam e se o befo ngajele wati jama baydo fam funtita nun je mi alon ko ka fa ko imam fati mi alon ko ye wotola imam fati la e ko because musul ka wala dum e tolka de imamol ka diamu wala imamo ning ayatare jarita imamu yala ibe diamu la diamu kula miya lonka nyanta ka bete a wala munyente ko katonya fo alqurano e memfo sunno nim farlo ay memfo wala mu katonya fo tonya ni ajabe kerin dawda muneketa ya kom ya fo idala wala e nyako ya fe ngamere ye nyine fo ndama alqurano karan but at the end of the day Imam Ratib of the Banjul at wati Jamal Alpha mataka moy diamola Gambia la kuo kono nyinku norim bal mume bebe kering Gambia Bangkoka a bebe kering Gambia Bangkoka central government be wulla wala tem mansabe wulla ka kuma jawol fay opposition wala ten ka wuli ka nyapim opposition la tamandir nyaka pour ka jube ke la tanyato ka sayni nan kom nga wo be jela keta jan Imam Ratib of Banjul wati Jamal aliya moya ka fo mansay ko nga diamu tende ya momin ka fo ko ha mbuka diamu mansay te open platform to barinka diama e kullo kono nafiki ba kato nyulo ebe man Gambia be la place leto so ni be diamu la mol nyanta ke fanan kan mo le ka jube nyinku nori ngo membe kere e mari ya mona soto ka fo akuoto o nyanta ka fole nyinko le amin bebe banko kan fa mo le kariye ni ka mano sang fo bente la family na mano sang na min now Imam Ratib of Banjula ala family na mano sang na be different la so nyinko le abe mo bele kan luwa tinya man betea aldiam president Adama Barrow ay luwa tinya bula Gambia Bankoka aka minfa dala ninga ka bara minna ibuka kikilin nafikol be abala wate surata tele ala director general olu anala inspector general of police olu e bebe nafiki ala bala anala so-called advisors olu be laring abala e bukan lafi because ya lonna ko Brikama area council UDP mayor le be woto andunga ba kekan kukele mo bebe lafiringa ala wodula nye hani ning election o keta sama fanan kotenke abe ganye la mi yalong atambita ay ganye follow min soto nyina mukuti mallafi minna wai ntol ma fon nim moy fitina nim mola jeri nya se fatale nya siyo be nyama barin se sino tabul kilinto le nge mari convince pour yena ye kafu molla nga banko doku mbebe dendem banko minna wala nyanta kake bare kube Gambia masilanta bake fankanu baliale be Gambia banko kankaje kominko ntade karele beje ne wala jeri nya mankilim bari hani binta support la wonyom fankanu balia man hani dina dunke balolu ibukake ngam fankom bakele Gambia nol Gambia 2.5 less than 2 million wala beje so at the end of the day bankun dinnati nani nyaton kolo milialon kon ke palasol to e ka palasol mil be mara e be fuari ding comme intam fuaro ti nyame bare ni nate dunta o palasol to e ka fanka maya ka tambi nane la nyame ye oso to nyadi la salary ma wosi salon ko motilimbali alti ite imamu to ye na ye kodo dila kodo nyi buka nyinin ka oso to nyadi le bari ite isa domo la doron wala akendal to nya fo banko kan altol imam wala altol lel ka ke nim fitino bota altol lel folo ka wuli ka fo komen ko alinga kairo sabatinde kaire sabatindo ka ke minati wala minti ka luwa bunya ka horoma o luwa nyin o fela be tinyari abe horoma baliari baral be siringal te femfola na meta doron aliena wuli nim fitino wala ten kairo tano wuli ta doron aliafa komen ko alinga ke kilindi kilimbaya na be kela wala munyente kon sal faunan kango moy alie to nyafo bari wala monte la kuma kaunte ka minyinenka muslime donke molo itol be jikere munala itol la miraro be muntole je ni te ko alqur'ano kanyene fo ten alqur'ano ko nyin akonyin Allahu akbar nte ka jahalle wo banko kandal kaje komin ko tonya Gambia mum banko sifalde hadamadin sifa nyaade lelbeje miliyalon ko sie fankon e modo kon ntol nim mobe dula falenka miyalon ko ila life be falenka kende ka na tare manke UDP kodi Gambia bele nyanta na le ye fasa katu yete mari ke je walla bare mimbe kering Brikama area council ku noringolem nga condemle nga nyakuya fele and central government inyanta stela in their lane ila undue interference ibe minke kan abuka kairo wulu ila undue interference ye min dati kake abe sarta tinyale kekan miya lonko amambetea tonye rolem andu mo bele nyanta fundila ka kuo kondem like I said Adama Barrow manke Gambiat atante Gambiati wo jonga molu mili alonko sun kanyolu e manfisia moti mi alonko atele be sirim fatoto so ni wole sunya roke mune ba kende la molka wol protect wole famu telembali ati fata mbita nanela bari albe West Coast nkolo albe hakilo bulande kukele albe nya yelende kanne ndaysan yaje wala kende Adama Barrow atela man sakunda la tamandir nya malon every day akakuo ku ketende ngaka molu kamfande ku akamale pour mole fala West Coast nkolo tella fino lela because West Coast ye la hide jamale keje imake o la hidolo nin datitan kombe wolbe fola tending abe la fila sango solale ya loptan jamale foy koy be mellola bara ale aman lono ngo bola hidi fola do kuo ke kome yankuba dabo ba ke kanyamin ni yewoke mol be kanu lale bari unless and until ima yewoke ko mol ye kanu force kano buka force ate force la mumeke because monem yankuba dabo ye danne ay londo sotoyti a fahamu teti a lon dunia ka tama nyamin andung abe mo bele represent kan in the city of West Coast foy mu UDP ti bang foy mu party o patiti so londi sifa o fero o kuolu e nyanta ka kataoke ka wala ke dulal beto Gambia ni lafita pour Gambia dingol ye nyaati lingel because ajube ite mo president bari darajan tayata katambe hani alikalo hani school prefecto wala fango darajata you know so abetata nata ni mari ka ke a ruthless leader illa fita ka kuol ke te faye ka jube comme ko say mbe mol bulo ngaji la nge keteng muntuma le sembosoto and one advice mbe min vola Mr. Adam Barola ala moli e milika a manage ka advice ala fa na be diamula ka fije mol kantente nyaton ko e nyanta ka diamula with humility, with humbleness, with words of wisdom and in words of inspiration ye courage di Gambia dingol Gambia betakan through a very hard time la science intende nite mari la momantara tubabu du balunya be koleare Gambia banko kanne foya lombang foy ma long ni ke nene ka foy ko gam kuol bebe beteare ne e be nene kanne bawo ete ma feel no because nkete balundi le kabiri singoto foy kungoto Gambia dingol le ka ke beke bari ala ya mara akali woke akali si every speech adama e minke nyanta kala ya marle ye nyim fokule nyindongo e mawo foku nyanta ka wo foten the next time ye la mistakes or learn bari molbe siri bale buka nyul foye be domo kanne be tinya kanne e si nyaay be wala kole ande kanje ando momo e kuja woke Gambia bankoka nga moman daraja moman fengo soto min tambita antuman gilen nyolla moman faramansa moman kodo soto min tambita Abubakar dentin nyolla ye walla kodo be repossess nyamin Mr. Adam Barrow the same thing Gambian will be wala kelela because tilimbalia ate tilimbalia le nyanta ka solve Gambia put futata stage leto miya lonko ni moe tilimbalia kela doro ye tilimbalia tandia bao lual be larinje la be senearin set but wo lualu abuka bunya abuka horoma from the president down to the last person so banko purka lua nying horoma ka bunya police ol min nyanta ka o lual nyul strengthen ke promote wol fanambe larim man sakunda kam wo banko purka justice samba wo banko kan ate fair wole akende in some instances ni ye tilimbalia tilingela dron tilimbalia le ma joramot at the end of the day ni to lafita Cairo la Gambia banko kan Cairo e sabat but ni lafita fitino fanambe talale because at the end of the day the people of West Coast will deserve to cool la mi along atambita into white ne la sung kanyo muta man sanyanta ke ma ko ilay o sungo prosecute but this is in their DNA la tamandir nyal betenne in the Gambia in KMC ya kejele la fitina ba wulindir afele nata the same thing in West Coast ibe yankuba nyinen kan silo bela ka fitinol bonded bankoka dina dunke molu Christian Council ibe be derin tek killing wal kawal ma ka umay bare bi altolel nyanta diamula la mimbaro to kanyen kusi fa al foje kendeke fo man sa fango ya lonko al katele fo ka tandala komin ko aya bula al basirin society kono world bare ka waramba bal dum wati eta mid the president at the state house and nate konton salo la ya kodi bal dia la ya talal damate ma aya tara mol dolu mil basirin je wal malo be baluno la nyaadil altol modina nyaton ko sifa nyaadi lelt albe jamal le represent ka maybe alkal fan represent So ning altol ma woke alba kendi no la mole jikal la nyadile mbal trust la nyadile. Gambia dingo libe jiko soto no la nyadile ndiya je kominko ning mandinkolko sulo selato ibuka waje fona be jika man sabe intonyero bela molbe sirin tek ibe dere nem molu walanterte funtite faye koy faye ko he alinga kairo sabatende wa altol mo sifa lalde altol ka alquran sifa nyadi lel karanganim bible sifa nyadi tonya o be mu tonya de fo be China le wala be Japan ne wala te be Singapore le tonya be mu tonya le ebe yankuba dabo tonya kanne eba tilimbali kanne ebe fitino le dundika wodulato andunga manyanka ke altol dina dunke bawo mu jamake ya kala al nyanta ka funtile ka diam why alka mol karande alqur'ano la kulol minna ka fo kominko hada madewo se alamuta ni fota minna lon ko la domokino le bantaje woto nga min expectal bulal funte ali tonya fo man say ka fay ko be nyim minke ka mambetea ibe imamu ya minna ni e bondi je man in fact man sama o sembo sa do pour que bondi imamu ya bare ni la imamu ya bondo be sunna ka tonya la fo muna nete tonya fo la na ning ayatara dankenea min alkafo komin ko mole dankenea alala altol be dankenea ri wala nyam jamala be jamane ne ka pare nyina mo gambiati for us fan kongo anim fan kanu balia membe gambia banko ka tambita nanela ka jube komin ko nim mola jere nyaman keleng amun jawoleti hanina be sanole ke kam banko to tending ntella filala o mu fannenelde o mu fankanu baliyalti nyanta ka wala bula gambia banko kan yankuba dabo eni la councilor we are in solidarity with you kaje coming ko be doku kendo minne continue wala sinen sama nita fanan janketa gambia dingolun tol mo kelengol melia in kuol tanga nyin condemn mbenawo ku kilingole folete marila. That is the right and the most noble thing to do as a human being. Consistent kumaya tabakere. Niko ya jamme kanyin ku nori ngole ke abuko lual bunya abuke horoma ite na luan taya bake nimmandi amwila amunta kontrol ya jamme la fam fisi ate ite tiwaye amunta kontrol bekala na afikol. Oto Brikama area council. Police ol nyanta kamenke wala mnyente ko ye jonga samba ya prosecute. Ye jonga bonde indula jonga la taro indula man Cairo wulu. Gambia dingo be wolon ala jonga bondi je central government ala la doku o palaso long eco separation of power and checks and balance wala be caring lual be seneari ne be laren ka jube ko central government tonde local authorities council woli autonomy le soto bari alba strike all possible means Gambia dingo be nya bala dunial nya bala albal fammalundi la dorong wate o watal ka kulle ke mi ala ka ke ku maslan dimbalati ay ke kuti mi alon ko aka mol datu yelerinne amambetea nte hane ning ayatara botam fangola pati la kono na pati dingole yake o ku kilingo mbe wala fola wal mari le ka tande ko yeko e makeku ande manyankake wala mu hadama de ya la bunya na la horomo wala mu katonyaf ni man tonyafo amunta ko ite munafiko doronnate ando nafiki ay manyanka katawola nafiko wobe janela le fay keramu wala yakene mo jamani nyin warambol mil bebe Gambia banko kan wol be dunia fa kono jeyla ila jan e datita ka jani because wala yakene mo jama mol bebe tula sontoring, you know, at the end of the day ku jaw balle be kere ite mari kon te tonyafo la bawa abotakari la karol, you know. So ngawale soto mbe mimfolaya ala baraka bake. I hope ko this message is loud and clear ka atande komen ko Adama Barrow be minke kan be interference minke kan Brikama area council luanta yalem ku noringolem anyanta ka stople anda mam bete abuka Cairo wulu ko ro doronga dol sulata minna wolem ka West Coast doku ke la balunyal faleng e fota minna nyin sanji jamal be kono pour woyke andu wobe na kanne mbenga wota man serol jere momi mbe woke ka wala yankuba dabot Sa in central government man la fiol. Oto central government in West Coast nkol le nyanta ka digale. The whole of West Coast ni wo be fundita. Wo Cairo de malo ibe wo sabatindino. Nko imagine. At the end of the day, ni fundita wati, ika presole di on the other sectors of the government. Because police ol nyanta ka doku wo minke, wolbe another resource le use le ya mobilize pour kana crowd control la udla. O fatam fa umbe mu kodi tinyaldi. Man sabuka woje. You think outside the box. Man sak nyanta ka woje. Police ol la movement, ila deployment o kam man sakunda kos kodi jamalilla. Falla fita walla. Cairo tano, amanyanka wo ulu. So the best thing is ite mimbe je lual be landere nyami ye lua bunya ya horma bar ni ma bunya ya horma at the end of the day ite le bina batala la barka bake enza 𝒂𝒐𝒊𝒏 United States of America.